There will be times when you need to edit or remove an outline from your worksheet, either because the makeup of the file has changed or simply because the auto outline got it wrong and picked the wrong columns. And I have seen this happen, where it spotted a formula but then goes and accidentally picks the wrong column. So the first thing to look at is, how do we remove outline altogether? We're not interested in it anymore. We don't want these silly symbols at the top or the left. Well, we go to the data ribbon, and we're using the Sales 2013 with outlining file, so that it's already in place. We go across to Ungroup, and there is an option there to clear the outline. So that will completely remove all the outlining from this particular worksheet, and it's gone. Luckily, we can put that back. Group, Auto Outline. If you want to amend an existing outline, we can simply use the Group or the Ungroup function to add or remove columns or rows from a grouping. Now, if, for example, we were to add a new row here, which contained the data for the central region, so not just south, east, north and west, and the central region has only just started out, so their sales aren't very hot on bananas, but I'm sure they'll get better. We need to then replicate the formula so that they are adding up the quarter 1 and quarter 2 and the H1, and then we have a little symbol here, little green triangle, that says there's something wrong with this formula. Probably is because it's not picking up the central, and it's not, so we need to just extend its sum area, and then we can drag that across. So now the maths is fine, and it's adding up the rows for each of the quarters and the column for each of the months. But what you will have noticed on the left is our new row is not included in any of the grouping. So if I click 2, we still see central. If I click 1, we still see central. So let's go back to 3. So what I need to do is add in that central row to each of these two outline options. So if I select that row, go to Data, Group, and choose Group while I have row 2 selected, you can see that it adds the central into the 1. So if I click 1, it then gets hidden. If I click 2, it's still exposed. So I need to go back to 3, select 2 again, and go to Group, and it will then get added into the level 2 grouping. So you have to watch where it will add it in. It will always go to the outer first. So I selected it and it said, well, you weren't in level 1, I'm going to put you in level 1. I selected and grouped again and it said, well, you're not in level 2, let's put you in level 2. And now it works as we see fit. 2 hides away that central, and 1 definitely does, and 3 brings it back. So we added in an extra row. If we were to do that with the pairs, so we insert, and we can add in a central set of numbers. I'm just going to take the same set of sales. Again, we find the sum doesn't include that new row, but we can soon extend the region and then copy that formula across. And what we have here is the central is really included in the outer grouping because it was a row within. So if I click 1, the central disappears this time. That's not a problem. However, if I click 2, the central doesn't disappear from the pair grouping. So let's go back to 3, and effectively I have to do exactly the same thing. I select the row, go to Group, and it gets added in to the pair grouping. As I can see there, it disappears. So I can soon add columns into groupings and rows into groupings. If, however, I want to take a column out, perhaps when I compress here, I still want to leave the March figures in play. Well, I select column D, I go to Ungroup and choose Ungroup, and it will only affect that column. And you see that the March column is then taken out of the grouping. So when I click the minus, March remains. And the same applies if I click 2, March remains. Go back to 3. If I choose March again and go to Ungroup and Ungroup, you can see that it takes it out completely from this level 2 now and has made a little dent in level 1. So when I click the level 1 grouping, March still remains. It doesn't get hidden now. It's very similar to when we chose to group a column. It grouped it in to the grouping 1, then group again, grouped into the grouping 2. Same's happened here with the ungroup. The first ungroup takes it out of the first level, which in this case was 2, and then the second ungroup takes it out of 1. So now I've got really quite a bit of a mess there. So let's try put those 3 back in as a grouped set of columns by selecting the 3 of them group and group, and you can see they then get grouped together. So when I do 2, they come across, but the 3 here is including our March. So I need to go to March and ungroup again. And I can't because I've taken out of the top level. So it's actually got itself in quite a bit of a pickle there, because the March column is still hidden when I'm on this top level, and I've got a level 4. Now, if you get to this stage where things have got totally out of hand and effectively quite a mess, we can just clear the outlining, ungroup, clear outlining, and again, and all the outline is gone. And then let's put the auto outline back on, and we're back to where we started from. So you can always go backwards. All of the outlining ever does really is effectively hide and unhide groups of columns and groups of rows. So you're not actually ever affecting the contents of any cells. So you can quite happily play away and experiment and try different groupings and ungroupings, try the auto outline, try amending the auto outline, and then once you've had enough and you don't want it anymore, you can simply go to ungroup and clear the outline. And you're taken back to seeing all of your columns. Even if at the stage you went to clear the outline, they were hidden, they would still come back. So if I went to group, auto outline, and actually hid all the intervening months, and then go to ungroup, clear the outlining, those months come back. So effectively they get unhidden, on display, and the outlining symbols all are removed.